Like all things we need to do in order to start the proper age, we're going to have to go mining today. And for that, I'm going to need 2 diamonds, which I don't know if I still have. Okay, yes, I have 2 diamonds. Thank goodness. Alrighty, Ultimate Prospector. Yeah, I've already got diamonds. So the 3 samples we're looking for now is beryllium for emeralds, kimberlite for diamonds, and osmium to start mechanism. Alright, here's the osmium. Let's see, can we get a vein? Actually, hold on, I can just use F3 to find the center of the chunk. Should be here. We're gonna see if there's actually any osmium down here. Yep, there is definitely osmium down here. Let's just hope that the ore veins are big enough to support a good amount of mechanism progress. They are also incredibly low to the ground. Alright, the vein was weirdly shapen, and we only got like a stack of ores out of it. Okay, that's kind of unfortunate. But I hope we can process ores. We have a better way of processing them at the moment. That's 1 out of 3 ores for the time being. Hopefully I can get some sort of ore processing setup with mechanism done. Or I can just use mystical agriculture, which I think I'm going to use. Played a lot of mod packs that had mystical agriculture, but I never really got into it. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing this time. And there's the barrel right here on top of this crop. Alright, the vein was pretty small and it only got me 49 emeralds, but I think that's going to be enough for now. I've also had the time to look at the advancements and look at all the recipes and find out that I actually can't use mystical agriculture until the very end of the mod pack. That's unfortunate and it sucks a lot, but at least we'll have access to AE2 and mechanism for the time being. Alright, well my pickaxe is mostly out of durability anyways, so we'll just head right back for now. Was that another barrel sample? Let's mark it down. Right, so we were unable to find diamonds, which is actually kind of a big deal, because I did want to make something called a simple storage network. Oh my god, finally! It's been like an hour, but I finally found a single thing of kimberlite. So is it over here? I think it's over here. I've noticed that also the plants spawn in the middle of the chunk, which is kind of hilarious. Now I hope that this drops like at least a few okay, 40 diamonds. That's really not good. Not only are these veins rare, they're also incredibly scarce. Alright, it only took like an hour, but now we're finally home with all of our ores, and was also able to pick up an extra osmium vein and a good chunk of quartz on the way back. Now, the unfortunate thing is that before being able to do any of that, I would like to use my current fluix and double it using sand. Before being able to actually start AE2, we're going to have to make a metallurgic infuser from mechanism, which is all we need for the time being. I'm going to throw all of this up on our new platform that is just up above where mobs can reach us. And I don't think I'm going to build an actual base. This is just going to be an expandable cobblestone platform that I'm going to light up as we go, because I genuinely cannot be bothered to actually build. Anyways, if we want to do power transfer, we need steel, which we have, and we need redstone, which we also have, to finally make some cables capable of transferring enough power to power the base while also not killing me in literally 2 hits. For now, I'm just going to throw in some Darklands logs. It's got 32,000 power storage, so I'm assuming that we'll have at least an okay buffer. Next up, I'm going to need me some obsidian and go ahead and crush it real quick, as well as make an enrichment chamber, which we are going to need some glass for. Sometimes I keep forgetting that all my glass is at the smeltery. Now we're going to make some steel casings. I'm going to make a couple because we're probably going to end up making some more machines to make the mechanism ore processing line. And then on top of that, we're going to throw in a piece of redstone here. We're going to throw in 2 pieces of redstone because we need 2 of these. But with that iron and redstone, and that was the wrong metal. What I actually meant to put in was osmium. Anyways, with the 2 control circuits, we can head on downstairs over here and make ourselves an enrichment chamber, which we're going to throw onto the line. And then chuck in all the obsidian we got. Okay, wow, somehow I managed to forget how mechanism actually works when I was doing progression with it yesterday in another mod pack I'm playing. Seem to have completely forgot that the enrichment chamber is actually for the diamond and not the obsidian. Anyways, while this is going, we're gonna end up getting our refined obsidian, which we can then use to finally refine all of the cheese we got from the moon into skystone. Also, while we're waiting, we're gonna actually craft the fluic seeds, and we're gonna throw it into some water, which we can just isolate over here. We throw the fluic seeds in, and these will eventually turn into full crystals. Now, with the obsidian, we're gonna enrich it into plates, which are gonna give us about 8 times as much value as the normal dust. This is just, you know, basic mechanism, like tips and tricks. Awesome. My chests are all super out of order right now, but it's going to be worth it because we are definitely getting an AE2 storage system set up today. I think that's going to be the main goal here. Alright, we're going to throw the inscribers onto the line, throw in the silicon press and start working on that. And then over here, I'm not sure how many of each press we're going to need, so I'm going to go ahead and calculate that real quick. Alright, since we got 24 cheese curds, we're gonna need to throw in 3 of these to make 240 millibuckets of obsidian gas, and this is gonna slowly make us the skystone we need, which we only need 4, by the way, but having more of it will let us make more controllers, which means in the end we'll have access to more AE2 stuff. So while we're waiting for that to go, we can actually come over here and put the moon bricks inside of the little system here, the assembly, and we're gonna make the last press mold that we actually need here. But while we're waiting, once again, because the game is basically waiting at this point, we're gonna take up some of our glass, which I think I put in my inventory. No, I didn't. It's somewhere in my chests. But we're gonna take some glass and a bunch of nether quartz to make cables as well as quartz glass, which is some of the main materials for AE2 stuff. Alright, there's some more stuff to put into basically our crafting resource bag for the time being. We're going to need to be pulling together all of our black iron and iron to make more of those basic crafting stations that we made in our last episode. It should be enough glowstone for the time being. I'll come back once I have, like, creative flight or something.
Like that's ever gonna happen. Oh, look at
The reason why I wanted glowstone, because I needed more luminescence, which, there we go, I should be able to craft here, in order to make more of these components for the crafting tables. Alright, with that we make 2 basic crafting tables, and then we're going to need a bunch of gold rods to make the gold components. Alright, we've got basically everything we need here. We can make 8 of these, and then make 1 catalyst, and then I think we should be able to shift click. We are missing a gold block. Bam! Alright, so now we've got the extended crafting table to gold tier, which allows us to do 5x5 crafting, but that's not what we're here for. For now, we're going to be putting it into our materials chest and having it sit and wait for the rest of the materials to come in. Now, while I continue to make logic circuits, I am going to go ahead and finish printing up all of my diamond circuits, the engineering ones, because we're actually going to be starting the storage system right about now. Alright, the main thing stopping us is the fluix seeds that I put into the water here earlier, but they are taking forever to grow, so we're going to make another batch of fluix real quick, and hope that, there we go, hope that 32 fluix is going to be enough. I do need to turn 4 of it into dust for the controller. Alright, let's gather up all the materials we have and see what we can do with them. First things first is making a few cables. Next up, we're going to make a drive to hold all of our discs. Next up, we make a panel. And then on top of that, we're going to be needing formation cores, annihilation cores, and then you make that into your full terminal. And then you use the advanced crafting table to make the crafting terminal. Now this is what our storage system is looking like right about now. It's missing power and it's also missing a controller. Next up we have our energy cell, which does not accept energy from mechanism pipes, which means we're going to need to go and grab our energy converter. Actually, I'm dumb and I need to make the controller because the energy cell is just storage for the system. It's not actually the intake. And for the controller, we're going to need pure fluix, which comes back to what I was doing earlier with the fluix seed. So we're going to go ahead and make 2 of these growth accelerators. And we are going to throw them right here. I figured out how to get these crystal growth accelerators to work, and I'm about to now build a little cage here, and then we're going to grab a bucket. Anyways, now we have this pool. It's got 2 accelerators on it. So if I throw in my seeds, they should grow significantly faster. All right, we finally have all of the pure fluix from the growing crystals that we're going to need to craft ourselves an ME controller. And my skystone is, where's my skystone? All right, there we go. Now we have our skystone and we can make an ME controller. So if I throw it down here, I'm pretty sure this should be like the power system. We should be good with it. This, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect the growth accelerator for the time being because we don't have infinite power. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea now that I think of it. All right, this connection is totally not going to be super dangerous, but at least we'll have power to the rest of the base in good amounts. Oh yeah, no, that filled up instantly, so I can throw this on like this, and I'll also add on the second growth accelerator here, like that. And yeah, we're not running out of power whatsoever. Okay, so for now, our storage system is empty, and it is going to remain empty for a little bit because we still need to make more of these circuits. Logic processors, and I'm gonna need me some of that. Where is it? Logic processors and a bunch of Certus quartz. That will make us ME components. And we use all of the glass we've saved up to make housings for these, which we have run out of glass. Go, 1K ME storage cell, and now we've got 2,000 items worth of storage in here. And we're just going to go ahead and chuck everything we have right now on hand in here. And then from that, I'm going to go and I'm going to make more quartz dust real quick. All right, a little bit more glass later, and we are going to be ready to make our storage cells. We are out of iron in the system. We can just go ahead and throw this in again. But we got all 5 of the storage cells we wanted to make, which means now we have 5,000 items worth of storage and a few hundred different pipes, which means that it's finally going to be time to start moving all of this stuff into the storage. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be any junk chests anymore. It just means that we will have a much easier time getting materials out of our storage, and we'll also not have to be limited by the constant necessity to check our chests. This is what's left of the big unorganized chest wall. I am very happy with how the storage system over here turned out. It's mostly full. Second priority at the moment is to get more cells in it and increase the total storage capacity and the type capacity. The rest of the gold chests have been moved all the way over here to be a junk chest for unstackable items or items that I don't intend on using anytime soon, so that they don't crowd up the storage system itself. Let's go ahead and start by making 2 of these installers, which I think I need iron for, which I'm out of. Now, yes, we have an iron shortage, and I'm not sure how I intend to fix that, because my next goal is ore processing, getting a 4x ore processing setup. And so for that, I'm going to need a lot of iron, which I think I'm comfortable with smelting the iron I have left, putting it all through the crusher and then the arc furnace. Or unless I'm pretty sure I had iron in a barrel somewhere. Yeah, actually over here. Yeah, we have 10 stacks of iron. Yeah, forget anything I said about us being out of iron. We've got plenty. We spend 9 of our diamonds on a block so that we can make ourselves something called a soul generator, which the soul generator is going to make power using mob skulls and eggs. Wow, this thing makes a lot of power really quickly. Okay, I think this thing is going to be a pretty good friend of ours. Right, so the next project is an ore processing line using mechanism, because I do not feel like making a ore-matic, and that's because it requires progression in Rlcraft, I believe. For then, it's going to be time for something that has actually been on my checklist for so long, and I have been waiting for such a huge amount of time to finally get one, and that's a proper Minecraft bed. And voila, we can now finally sleep the night away in an actual bed that doesn't explode when you mine it. The next project, after finally completing our storage, is going to be an ore processing system that'll allow us to quadruple, and if I decide to go the full length, probably even quintuple all of our ores. But to do that, we're going to need huge amounts of power, and I mean huge amounts, so we're going to start with the 4x ore processing, and then we'll make some ways to get a lot of ores you guys will see. Now we have the 4 main machines of this processing line: the chemical injection chamber, the purification chamber, the crusher, and then the enrichment chamber. But in order to make actually all of these machines work, we're going to need a few other materials. The first of the machines that we're going to need to finish up our ore processing line is 2 electrolyzers. On top of that, we're going to be making an electric pump for water. We're going to go ahead and start by setting up our pump, and we're going to put it on the bag here. Now with this thing outputting water, we can throw on an electrolytic separator on top of it. We're also going to be connecting it to the power with a slightly weaker cable. And now the water is going to be turning into hydrogen. So now that I've realized, we should flip it like this so that the output with the oxygen is on this side, and we can dump the oxygen into the purification chamber. So that's everything we need for ore tripling. Ore quadrupling is going to be a little harder of a process. For that, we're going to need one of these chemical infusers, and we're going to put it on the other end of this electrolytic separator, which is currently outputting hydrogen. Right, now that our chemical infuser is fueled with a little bit of hydrogen, we're going to need something else called chlorine. And that chlorine is going to come from another multi-block that we're going to build called the thermal evaporation plant. Next up, we're going to throw a resistive heater onto one of the valves here, and we're going to power that thing right up. And so now with that pump, we can now start pumping water into the thermal evaporation plant, which is going to start producing brine on the side. Another thing I want to make really quickly here is a charge pad, as well as a configurator, which we're going to hook up right here and charge up like this. So now we can empty out the brine from the other side and throw it on into an electrolytic separator, which, once powered by a cable here, will start to produce sodium and chlorine. Now the sodium is entirely useless, but the chlorine, which, hold on, we're going to move the pipes like this so that I can get the chlorine out the other side. All right, there we go. That should fix it. Now, if we're outputting chlorine out of this side, and we make a pressurized tube here, and then we throw that on into here. This will now have chlorine and hydrogen, and will now be producing hydrogen chloride, which we can not pipe out the top. Now we can have hydrogen chloride coming out the front and going into this, which we will now disable. So now we have hydrogen chloride in one, oxygen in the other, and everything is pretty much set. Now we just have to enable auto eject, and this ejects to the right side. This one auto ejects to the right side and inputs from the left. This one, same thing, input from the left, output on the right, and auto ejects, and all, of course, the exact same here. And if I put down a chest right here, or some kind of storage, all of the ores will be outputted into here. Now this setup is incredibly messy, but it is functional, and I will likely end up optimizing it later. But as for right now, it is ready to roll. It'll be incredibly slow and incredibly inefficient, and once again, it is super messy, but it works. So now, if I throw in a single cluster of osmium, it will consume some of the hydrogen chloride in order to turns it into 4 shards, which each go into the purification chamber, and each shard is turned into a clump, which is then crushed inside of the crusher. And once the crusher is done turning it into dirty dust, it is enriched into a full osmium dust. We are now capable of quadrupling any ore we put into the system. Now, the system is incredibly weak and slow, and that's because we don't have, the power infrastructure to actually support it. At least for now we don't, but at least we have these generators, which should be capable of making a fair amount of power over time, and in turn support at least some of the ore processing line, because right now it is incredibly slow. With all this being done, and our base finally being futurized, and our storage being centralized, I mean, I can't believe I finally have access to a storage system that I literally cannot make disorganized, because storage downstairs got pretty bad. I would love to say we built a base immune to mobs, but this isn't really a base. We just made a cobblestone platform in the sky. Maybe I'll fix it someday, eventually. But for now, this is about all we can do. So H5 is going to be an incredibly long and slowly paced section of the mod pack, because what I originally thought was the final stretch is just the beginning. Now, of course, we were able to get all of our machines here set up and all of this, but we're going to need a lot of power, a lot of production strength, production quality, production ability in order to actually finish this pack if we intend on going all the way up to Neptune. And for that, it's going to take at least a few more episodes. So the plans moving forward, at least for now, is going to be to make power generation and a lot of ore production in order to fuel our future space endeavors. Which means that if you want to catch that, you're going to have to subscribe and be ready for the next episode when it drops next week. Until then, that's all for me. Peace.